Welcome back to the Silent Report. Tonight, we investigate one of the strangest viral phenomena sweeping across America. It's not a political scandal, not a military operation, and not even a leaked government file. This time, it's a social trend, bizarre, humorous, yet deeply revealing. It's called the TikTok recession check. And behind the memes, emojis, and Gen Z humor lies a truth more unsettling than most would expect. Because what happens when a generation can no longer trust official news, and instead starts predicting economic collapse using lipstick, toys, and emo music? Let's dig deeper. It all began with a joke. A TikTok user somewhere in Middle America posted a short clip, a lipstick swatch, a Labubu toy figure, and a screenshot of an old-school emo playlist. The caption: "If these are trending, recession confirmed." The video was tongue-in-cheek, almost absurd. But the internet did what it always does. It ran with it. Within days, thousands of similar videos popped up. People began using hashtags like #recessioncheck and #lipstickindex, flooding feeds with colorful cosmetics, cheap collectibles, and melancholic nostalgia. But what was first treated as comedy slowly transformed into something else. A pattern, a signal, a shared anxiety. To understand the full picture, we need to go back. The original concept of the lipstick index wasn't born on TikTok. It came from Leonard Lauder, chairman of Estee Lauder Companies, during the early 2000s recession. He noticed that when people couldn't afford expensive luxuries, like vacations or designer clothes, they turned to smaller indulgences. Lipstick sales went up, cheap pleasure in hard times. Economists began using it as a kind of informal signal. When lipstick sales surged, perhaps the economy was faltering. Fast forward 2 decades, and Gen Z has not only revived this concept, they've remixed it. But instead of just lipstick, they've added Labubu toys, low-rise jeans, vintage tech, and yes, playlists packed with raw, angsty emo tracks. It's no longer just an economic measure, it's cultural satire. But the question we're asking today is, why now? In 2025, America sits at a strange crossroads. Inflation has cooled, but trust hasn't recovered. The cost of living remains high. Homeownership feels like a dream to most young adults. Student loan debt still crushes millions. And though job numbers look good on paper, underemployment, gig work, and silent quitting dominate the lives of many in their 20s. The TikTok recession check is more than a meme. It's a mirror. Let's take the Labubu toy, for example. Originally a Chinese collectible designed by Pop Mart, it's gained massive popularity in the US over the last year. Sold in blind boxes, each toy costs less than $15. They're cute, nostalgic, and give the buyer a dopamine hit. But they also represent something else: control. When Gen Z can't control rent, career paths, or healthcare, they can control tiny moments of happiness. A Labubu on a desk isn't just decoration. It's an escape. Then there's lipstick. Unlike big fashion or tech splurges, lipstick is accessible. A small thing to lift mood, brighten appearance, or signal rebellion. And during uncertain times, it sells. According to several industry reports, drugstore lipstick sales are up by nearly 18% year-over-year in 2025. That's no accident. It's an economic signal hiding in plain sight. And then comes the music. If you scroll through TikTok's trending audio library, you'll find a familiar sound: emo. My Chemical Romance, Paramore, The Used, bands that defined teenage angst in the early 2000s, were suddenly topping Gen Z playlists. But why? Is it just a retro revival? Or is it more than that? Experts believe the emo resurgence reflects a growing emotional unrest. The world Gen Z inherited is radically different from the one their parents lived in. Climate anxiety, economic instability, global wars, AI disruption, these aren't sci-fi fears. They're daily realities. And emo music, with its unapologetic emotion and raw lyrics, gives voice to feelings most institutions refuse to address. So, what happens when a generation mixes lipstick with economic forecasts, toys with inflation trends, and emo playlists with consumer sentiment? You get a cultural recession indicator. And unlike Wall Street's complex algorithms or the Federal Reserve's projections, this one is easy to see, easy to feel, and harder to ignore. But there's a darker side too. As the recession check trend goes viral, so does the potential for mass anxiety. Memes, while funny, can amplify fear. A joke becomes a belief. A belief becomes panic. Already, some small retailers have reported bulk lipstick purchases they tied to TikTok panic buying. Toy sales in some urban areas have spiked suspiciously without a clear holiday or marketing push. Fashion outlets report strange upticks in early 2000s Y2K apparel, again, tied to online trends. Media outlets have picked up the story. Articles from CNN, NBC, and even global sites like the Economic Times have begun treating the trend as semi-legitimate. One headline reads, "If General Z's emo playlist is trending, we may already be in a recession." Another, "Labubu is a leading indicator." Inside the viral recession trend no one saw coming. And that brings us to the core of tonight's report. Is this all just an elaborate joke gone too far? Or is it something else entirely? Here at the Silent Report, we believe trends like these, however unserious they may appear, were often the canaries in the coal mine. Not because lipstick causes recessions. Not because toys collapse economies. But because when an entire generation turns to symbols, instead of statistics, to process what's happening around them, it means traditional systems have failed to explain reality. Ask yourself, when was the last time an average 22-year-old trusted an official government report on the economy? When was the last time a young adult felt hopeful watching a White House press briefing or reading a stock market forecast? Trust is gone. And where trust vanishes, memes grow. We spoke with several creators behind viral recession check videos. Most say they started out mocking the idea. But many now admit, they're worried. One creator told us, "It's easier to laugh about lipstick sales than to talk about how I can't afford rent." Another said, "I'm tired of pretending things are fine. At least these videos make me feel seen." That phrase, "make me feel seen," echoes over and over. Because ultimately, this trend is about recognition. Recognition that economic pain doesn't always look like stock crashes or bank runs. Sometimes it looks like emotional burnout. Sometimes it looks like buying $3 $5 lipsticks just to feel alive. Sometimes it sounds like old emo lyrics in a new world that feels just as broken. We are witnessing a cultural coping mechanism in real time. It's funny, until it's not. Because as the trend spreads, it may influence real behavior. Spending shifts. Brand campaigns. Even investor sentiment. Some market analysts have joked that, if enough General Zers believe we're in a recession, we might as well be. That's how fragile confidence is. That's how fast narrative spreads. And that's how culture becomes economy. This is not the first time cultural signals hinted at downturns. In the early 2000s, blockbuster movies with darker themes often surged before market dips. During the 2008 crisis, fashion turned minimalist. In 2020, during COVID lockdowns, sourdough bread became a bizarre symbol of survival. And now in 2025, we have Labubu, lipstick, and low-rise jeans. But the difference this time? It's all happening publicly. Virally. Live. There are no secrets anymore. No private fears. TikTok has turned personal anxiety into mass performance. And the world is watching. So what comes next? Experts warn that trends like this can't be ignored. Whether they reflect truth or not, they influence perception. And in economics, perception often is reality. The recession check may not show up in government data. But it's already reshaping how young Americans feel about the economy. It's already altering buying habits. It's already challenging traditional economic models. And most importantly, it's starting conversations no press release ever could. At the Silent Report, we don't take these signals lightly. Because underneath the humor is a clear message: Gen Z is not okay. They're anxious, uncertain, and tired of being told to wait. They want meaning. They want honesty. They want to understand the world they're inheriting. And if the only way to express that is through lipstick memes and sad music, then so be it. So the next time you see a Labubu on someone's desk, or a friend wearing low-rise jeans unironically, or a TikTok syncing heartbreak lyrics to inflation charts, don't laugh too quickly. You might be watching the beginning of something bigger. A generational reckoning. A silent protest. A new economic language, spoken not through numbers but symbols. And maybe, just maybe, this time, the means know more than we do. This has been the Silent Report. If this video made you think differently, drop a comment. Share your own strange recession indicator. And remember, sometimes, the loudest warning signs, are the quietest. Until next time, stay aware, stay curious, and never stop asking what's really going on.